It was late at night. It was really dark in here, and this whole room was filled with bunk beds all the way around over to the other side, with about 60 kids.
Dawn Hill says she will always remember her first night at residential school.
When my sister Roberta was kind of frightened, she said, "Can I come sleep with you?" So I said, "Sure." She crawled in bed with me, and we kind of looked around, talked a little bit about where we were, and kind of being both a little afraid.
What Dawn didn't know is that here, sharing your bed with a sibling had consequences.
We got the strap, and we had welts from the crook of your arm down to your fingertips. I mean, how could you strap a little 6-year-old or a 7-year-old that harshly? And it wasn't soft. It was really hard like that.
That was Dawn's introduction to the Mohawk Institute Residential School in Brantford, Ontario. And the next morning, her very first, she learned who she was here.
They didn't call me by Dawn. My number was 54. My sister was 34. So if they wanted to talk to me, they'd say, "Number 54, come here." It became a very lonely place because nobody really hugged you. Nobody said you did anything really well. I remember I was writing one time in class, and I was trying to do cursive writing, and Miss Cripps, that was her name, our teacher, she was walking up and down the aisles, and she comes along, whacks me right across the knuckles with the pointer. Well, I don't know what she was expecting, because I couldn't even hold the darn pencil after that, never mind write. And so, our whole environment was one of violence, uncaring people.
Dawn spent 4 years at the institution. She was one of 15,000 kids who were required to attend during its 140 years in operation. Today, the front steps have become a memorial to honor the remains of the kids found recently at other residential schools across the country. Janice Montour spends a little time here every day. She's an historian, and she wants people to know the reason the residential school system was created.
The residential school system in Canada was definitely, at the end of the day, to kill the Indian and the child. They wanted to assimilate us into Canadian society, but what these institutions did was more than just take away our language and culture. They did atrocities that no child should ever have to experience in their lifetime.
Those are little kids.
Janice has spent years transforming this building into a place that does the opposite of what residential schools tried to do. Today, inside, they teach Indigenous languages and culture. It's now called the Woodland Cultural Center, and Janice is the executive director. She says people didn't want to believe what really happened at residential schools.
Why did it take a mass grave to prove what our communities have been saying for years about these places? It's frustrating. I've been doing tours since I was 15 of this place, and our voices just weren't heard. And that's the frustrating part.
Janice says a question that needs to be answered is whether there are remains on the grounds here. Mark Hill, the chief of Six Nations, wants to lead the search.
Some people are already sold on the fact that there are remains to be found in this area, just based upon what survivors have said and been telling us for quite some time. It matters to me personally because to see all of the things done to our children during that time when I wasn't even born, to be in a position to where I can now fight for justice for each of those children and their families, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
And in the middle of the night, we'd have to go down to the bottom.
The people, like Dawn Hill, who made it out of residential school alive, call themselves survivors. Dawn wants people to know the price she and her sister paid.
My sister, she was molested by the minister. She told me what happened and when. And all those years I didn't know.
It took Dawn's sister Roberta almost 50 years to talk about what happened to her here and how she tried to cope as a little kid.
So after it happened and she knew she had to go to church and he was there, that first Sunday afterwards, she was getting ready for church and she was so afraid. She's just so upset and everything. Her nose started to bleed and it wouldn't stop. So she said, they didn't make me go to church that day. And then she said the following Sunday, she knew she was supposed to go again. She started punching herself in the nose to make her nose bleed so she wouldn't have to go. I think it really changed her.
I think that's where my bed was, and my sister's was over there.
Dawn grew up to be a teacher. She has a daughter and grandkids of her own.
Pipes.
And she remembers that as a little girl herself, all she ever wanted to do was play.
You see these pipes up here? Eventually, over the years, I migrated to the top bunk, so I would swing on those pipes across the room. And I know Miss Ton came in one time, and I was over there. My bunk bed was over there. I had to swing back all the way down and get down and get the strap. I knew it was coming.
The last of these institutions in Canada closed their doors in 1997. We know their legacy will be with us for a long time. But maybe there's one thing we can do today, knowing what happened to the kids inside. Stop calling them schools. Nick Purdon, CBC News, Brantford, Ontario.